And here it is, the morning after the night before. It did rain quite a bit. It's all looking a bit mucky in there. The torch is still illuminated. That's fine. It's still in firefly mode. So let's take this out, get it cleaned up and check it over. Now, I've not really had a chance to look at this for a few days. In fact, the torch has been sat partly submerged in this tray of water for about 5 days now. So I think it's time. It's still on, still see the light there. I think it's time to take this out, dry it off, and we'll check it inside for any moisture ingress. So just give it a thorough rinse to get all the mud off it. The light's still on, you can see that shining there. So clean it up and then dry it up. Right, I've dried it off completely now. There are just little traces of moisture's a little bit around the switch head there. I can't quite get in there to dry it fully. Now there's no evidence of any moisture inside the glass, so I don't think any's got inside. But the thing I want to do now, and I'll have to switch it off for this of course, is take it apart and see if any has got inside the body. So let's take the end cap off. And the head. There's the battery. There's the inner tube. No, I don't think that's water in there. No, I think it's just stuff that must have been in there before. No, there's no evidence of any water in there. So the torch seems to have passed the lying in a tray of water test for 5 days, and but that's not really very extreme, is it? Not really very severe. So I need to come up with something that's going to test this a bit more thoroughly, and I've had an idea. I'm going to drive over it with my car. Now if you hear a generator running, that's not me, that's just the water board. They happen to be digging up the road today. But let's stick this under the back wheel of the car and drive over it. Right, the torch is once again switched on, firefly mode. I've stuck it in front of the rear wheel of my car. Now I've put a little bit of blue tack under the central section. It's to support it a little bit, but also to stop the torch flying out when the wheel runs over it. I may attempt to go over it in both directions. I'll have a think about that. But right, okay, let's get in the car and drive over it. Well, that didn't go entirely according to plan because the torch didn't stay put in the blue tack. I've now got a torch that's, well, it looks very scraped and battered. Not bent though, it's still straight. The blue tack stuck to my tyre. It's still on and it still works in all 5 brightness modes. So the torch survived. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit inside and see quite how badly scuffed this torch is. So just wash all the dirt off it, so that all we're looking at is the scuffing to the anodizing. I imagine it's breached the anodizing and gone through to the bare metal. Let's have a look at it on the bench. Well, it is badly scratched. There are some fairly deep gouges where the grit and gravel have pushed through the black anodizing and gone through to the aluminium. Now interestingly, the push button is completely unaffected, and I think that's because it's recessed in this section here, so it didn't actually get scraped along the tarmac. The rear section's even worse. It's very badly scraped and pitted, but the torch still works fine. All brightness levels are still good. So what I'm going to do is open it up because I'm particularly interested in whether this central section, which looks quite thin, has suffered any deformation, if it's deformed at all. So let's unscrew this rear section, take the battery out, and let's unscrew the front section. And I'm looking for any signs that this deformed, and I don't think it did. Both ends seem completely circular. Let's have a look from the other end. No, it looks like the shape of the metal tube has stood up perfectly well. Of course, it's scraped along these rims here, not actually on this part of the body. So it looks like the design of the torch is such that where it needs to be tough, it is tough. And this has survived really rather well, I think. So here it is on ThruNite's website. It's the TN12 2016 version. This one's in neutral white, currently priced at $54.95. Now I noticed that there's a few things here about upgrades from the 2014 version. Upgraded stainless steel side switch to make the operation more sensitive. LED bulb in the head is more centralized. There's an improved circuit design, makes the brightness difference between high and turbo more obvious. And a thicker light head design makes the flashlight more drop resistant and, well, apparently more resistant to being dragged along by a car. So there it is, that's the ThruNite TN12 2016 edition. My one is no longer pretty, but it's pretty tough. Cheerio.